Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains Podcast.
Whatever they're called, man. He's cutting you off. That's why you're pausing all these times.
Yeah, I'm being censored. That's what's happening. The government censor. I mean, they've infiltrated the hiker trash studio south, and yeah.
Exactly why we couldn't record with the Rangers last week.
Yeah, well, it's just like with that halftime show, how they were bleeping out the words and stuff. That's what's happening to me now. Now that Musk, is in control, he got my Social Security data. My payments have been stopped. I can't retire. And have to podcast the rest of my life. Turn this. Is that
where we're going with this tonight?
Yeah, that's where I think I'm going. I'm just, I want to talk about the podcasting life. We were together. 3.5 hours on 3 hours, 15 minutes on Friday.
It's fantastic time.
Yeah, those were 2 great episodes. If you didn't listen to them, you're missing out.
Oh, God.
Then we did like 45 minutes on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then tonight, my wife is going to think there's something going on between us. So
she's your affair?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you better not schedule anything for Friday because it is Valentine's Day after all.
Well, Sunday, I might be going hiking Sunday.
Oh, yeah? What are you going to hike?
Bear Pen and Fly. My friend needs those for his winter.
All Tom Who's. I hear Bear Pen's Tom's favorite mountain. Tom just had like an accident driving up from Jersey.
Oh my God, I'm turning around. I can't screw this.
Tom just ran into a Jersey barrier. I hope the dog wasn't with him. That would be really sad.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah. So, 1:59 tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking with Dr. Alexander Gates about climate change in the Catskills, climate change in America. And hold on, wait 1 second. Tad is going to crack open it. Are you going to do it right now?
All right. So what I want to know is if you can tell what it is from the crack. Listen, ready?
It didn't record. You're right. You didn't shut off everything like you did last time.
But seriously? Oh, I thought I had it all set down.
Looks like you're going to have to chug that down and then do another one. Is it a 1911?
It is. It's a 1911.
Yes.
I got it just to like sister you, right? See, we're twinning.
I saw the color and then
Yeah. It's not that good though. I might go get a beer.
It's original.
I know it's original and it says from where is it? This is what caught my eye.
Lakes, I think.
Yeah, it says from tree to can. How the fuck did they do that? How do they make the apples? They turn them into cider on the tree. What is it with that? I mean, you see that? It's tree to can.
I see that in the last part.
Do you believe that? And what gluten-free? Are these special apples that they're gluten-free? Aren't all apples gluten-free?
Correct.
This is just like chock full of false advertising. And where's the name 1911 come from?
Correct.
And it's 1911 original as opposed to the fake version? Do they have like the fake 1911? I don't know.
Listen, I had the cranberry one earlier and it was very good. Or the Loganberry.
I'm going to take another sip. I'm going to see if my opinion changed in the last 30 seconds. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I'll have to get you another one. So,
what, better than this? Better than the 1911 original?
Original. They have some really good ones, like a honey cider and the Loganberry is more of a cranberry kind of Christmas time. So, I'll have to.
We're going to wait till Christmas then for the cranberry one.
I guess so.
Once we go offline, I'm pulling out a stout and drinking a real man's drink.
I'm gonna good for you. Rip it up, man. Do what you want. Drink a local stout. That's all I gotta say.
I'm gonna drink my own drink.
Hell yeah, no doubt. All right, so we got a bunch of news going on. Let's start it off with a missing North Carolina hiker. 73-year-old is found dead in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Now, she was looked, this happened, let's see, on February 4th, Tuesday. So that was a week ago. She was found dead over the weekend. Ann Houghton was found Sunday about a quarter mile off at Eneley Creek Trail in the National Park Service. Cause of death was not immediately given. She had planned to hike the park, which straddles the north border of North Carolina and Tennessee, from January 8th to January 29th, according to officials. So this is a little bit, when she failed to return on Saturday, she said she was reported missing, and search and rescue volunteers located her vehicle at the Smokemont campground and began searching for the 73-year-old. Law enforcement said that search and rescue staff focused efforts along Bradley Fork and the area around. Local agencies assisted, and volunteers that have been doing park service for the last 20 years has been assisting in this. And she said that Anne was a great person that has been volunteering in the park for over 30 years and was an enduring and beloved member of the Smoky Mountain community. She was dedicated to volunteer and an advocate hiker who shared her passion for the park. Many great like local small Smoky Mountain Volunteer National Park officers her condolences to her favor. So unfortunately, Anne passed away in the Great Smoky Mountains. We don't know why yet. Tad, have you heard any updated information?
No, I actually, before showtime tonight, I checked up on the story. Any further information, nothing was available other than what you just reported. I thought it was interesting that they described what she was doing as a 2-day hike. Now, does that mean she had camping gear and she was going to spend the night, in a tent or shelter, sleeping? Or was this some type of enduro thing where she was going some distance, starting maybe late, whatnot, but hiking through the night into the next day? I just found that to be an interesting nugget of information that's like screaming for more explanation.
True.
And then I saw in another article where her sister, Nancy Penny, said she died doing what she loved. And that's very, very comforting.
Wow.
And I say, really? I mean, she died. That's sad. You know? I mean, it's not like she died of cancer or something like that, but it's like, if somebody's dying, it's kind of nice to have the opportunity to say goodbye and, see people that one last time, but here, this woman who apparently was a remarkable woman, well known in the Great Smoky Mountains area, set out to do a hike and she dies on this hike. I mean, you don't know whether her death was full of pain and suffering, terror,
right?
Emotional trauma. You don't know anything about that. And I don't know. I mean, you don't know what happened to her. I don't find that very comforting. But I don't know Nancy and I don't know her sister. Just a couple oddities there.
And the Smokies are kind of like the Catskills, where we range in elevation going from a certain small area, an elevation to a high elevation. The Smokies go up to, I think it's like 6,500 feet is where Klingeman's Dome is, one of the highest points on the East Coast. And, of course, that's further south, but I know they've had snow before. Mm-hmm. So, and then you, of course, have bears and stuff like that above that. So, once again, you said further, I would like to know what happened. Did she suffer? Did she not suffer? Did she do, what she loved? Did she pass away, hypothermia, stuff like that? That's a big question mark. And it's been a week.
Yeah. Maybe she just had memory deficit problems and got lost, disorientated, confused.
We've seen that before on the Appalachian Trail further
Yeah.
like north. I remember one lady who was like a queen in the Appalachian Trail had, memory deprivation or, and then walked off trail and just never been found for like,
Yeah.
I forgot, it was like 2 years.
Yeah. And I'm not that much younger than these people. This could be me in a few years.
You're like 20 years. That's a big difference.
Not 20 years, buddy. I'm only 11 years behind this woman. So
Badass.
I could see my daughter saying it. And yeah, Dad, yeah, he died doing what he loved. Being chased by mountain lions.
Stosh found him after being chased by mountain lions and he shot him dead, but then got rid of the evidence.
Although his head had been mauled off by a pack of wild mountain lions in the call between Friday and the Dink. Stosh recognized him because Tad was found holding his microphone.
Yeah, holding that in 1911 up in the air. Cheers, son.
Yeah, didn't let the mountain lions get to it because it had that treat-a-can taste.
Yeah,
fresh and lacking in glutens.
Yeah, right.
We like that.
So Tad, I wanted to bring this up because this was a local kind of event that happened. A 53-year-old skier dies at Gore Mountain. So he was the CEO of the Cowell Law Group. Now you are more in tune with skiing, and have you been up to Gore Mountain?
I have skied Gore Mountain so many times, I won't admit. It's a great ski place. It's like take Bel Air, put it on steroids.
Oh wow! So I mean, I've seen the profile of Gore Mountain, and I know it's Adirondack kind of. It's an Adirondack aspect skiing area. So nice. I would say black diamonds and stuff like that, and a bunch of here and there kind of stuff. But this, once again, was a crazy tragedy that the New York State Police was involved. And, with Tad, you being a more of a skier, I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
What happened to him?
I mean, that, and, at Gore Mountain, when do you know, has this happened? Does this happen often?
Well, I mean, people die every year from skiing. It could be skier to skier contact collisions. Could be skier to immovable object like a lift tower or big maple tree. That's how Sonny Bono died. If you remember him, Sonny and Cher skiing at Aspen in a tree. Yeah, so those things happen. But from the vague details that were given,
very vague.
I would not be surprised because they didn't describe any contact with an immovable object or other accident. It was just like this guy was found on the slope dead. So what does that indicate? Heart attack, massive stroke, aneurysm, something like that. Or it could have been something completely stupid, like what if on the chairlift he was eating a snack that he was allergic to? He didn't realize that it had something in it that he was allergic to, and he just has an anaphylactic reaction while he's skiing, totally crazy. But yeah, it could be just some weird oddball occurrence like that. And, we could say it's very comforting that he died doing what he loved, but it kind of sucks. I know that's awful.
Jesus
so bad,
Christ.
Right? Let's just bleep this out. This is where we need the censorship. So yeah, it's awful. I mean, people die all the time. And, I guess on the one hand, it's nice if you die doing what you love. But on the other hand, it kind of sucks dying when you're 53 like this guy.
Right.
So
now, it said he was on the Sagamore Trail. Have you been on that? Do you remember that? Can you recall that?
I could pull that up and see if I remember.
Yeah, please do, because once again, I am not a skier, so I'm not noticed about Gore, but I'm very familiar with the terrain of Gore. It's I would have to say for an Adirondack mountain, it's very typical for an Adirondack ski center. It has, once again, some nice steep slopes, stuff like that. But if someone else found them, then I would say that of course, like you said, it had to be a heart attack or something Not like that one guy that was left the skiing and then was found over in Sacramento. That was a great story. I remember covering that a while back.
Here we go. Pulling up the trail map. Let's see. It's God, boy, this is pretty low.
Well, profile stuff like that. It seems all ski mountains have horrible maps unless you are face to face with the goddamn map on the top of the mountain. That's the way I see Plattekill. I love Plattekill. You know, I haven't skied there, but I gotta admit, their stuff online sucks compared to when you're looking at it on top of the mountain when I'm at the peak.
Yeah, that's kind of how you're orientated. I don't see Sagamore.
Pretty sure that's what it said.
Yeah. Oh, I see. It's a Summit Ridge, Sagamore. It's a black diamond.
So that's it's the steepest trail that you can get, right?
No, they actually at this ski area they have some double black diamonds, which is one notch above a black diamond. But so yeah, the trail name is not one that I'm familiar with. But I mean, you don't know that day he could have hit a patch of ice and lost his edge and went into a tree, went into some snowmaking equipment, a lift tower, a tree. There's a bunch of things he might have hit. Or like I said, it just kind of seemed to me from the lack of other descriptions that this is a guy that had some mystery medical condition that turned out to be terminal, fatal.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything about it yet. So, I mean,
yeah, sometimes. So I went to the webpage for his business. He's a family law lawyer in the Albany area, and there was no further information.
Elon is cutting you off. Once again, Tad experiences technical difficulty. Elon is cutting you off, man.
Yeah, he's actually in the corner of my office right now. Elon, get the fuck out of here, buddy. Okay. he ran for cover. He doesn't like it. Apparently, he doesn't like it when you yell at him. So
don't yell at me, please.
All right. Yeah. He jumped in his car.
So you said
buzzed away.
You were saying that there hasn't been any information on his website.
No, there was no indication on his website that he was no longer alive. It was like, business as usual on the webpage.
Wow. Yeah. Unfortunate accident on Gore Mountain up in the Adirondacks. So, Tad, you brought this next last second incident happening, and I'm like, what the hell? Where the hell is Mount Barney?
Yeah.
So I had to look this.
Did you find out where it is?
Australia, mate.
Yeah. See, we cover the news anywhere on the globe where it's newsworthy. We want to bring it to you.
And Tad brought this amazing news piece to me, and I was just like, what the hell? This is fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, Australia is a whole different area than us. So this guy was a teenager who survived on lollies, which I guess is lollipops out in Australia, muesli bars, which I'm guessing is like granola bars.
Yeah, granola bar, I guess. Yeah.
And creek water, which is the best water for us. After becoming lost for 3 days on the South Brisbane, says he has no plans for going hiking anytime soon.
Let's get him on the show.
Oh, my God. Nathaniel Green, 18, alerted authorities that he had become lost while trekking Mount Barney in the national park on Thursday morning in Australia. A search and rescue effort, which included SES volunteers, which I don't know what it is. He was uninjured, but he was not navigating correctly. Thursday morning, he said he went up into the mountain for sunrise, then my phone died, and then ran out of water. This sounds like a typical case of an East Coast hiker.
Yeah, it sounds like teenagers, whether in the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere, they basically hike the same.
What the heck? Except this guy has freaking unlimited amount of, weather, like nice weather. So he says lost alone and pretty cooked. Whatever that means, whether high or cooked by the sun. Mr. Green continued to descend the mountain using a nearby creek for drinking water. He built a makeshift shelter, so he knows what the hell he's doing to make it through the freezing nights. I got to find out. Ted, while I'm talking about this, please look up what is freezing nights in Australia.
Yeah. Well, because that's interesting. It's in the southern hemisphere, so this is their, summer season down there now. Right?
Correct. So, and he subsidized on a pack of lollies and a muesli bar that he had packed for the journey. So after spotting rescue helicopters, so they freaking rescue him in helicopters in Australia, overhead on Friday night and Saturday morning, he realized he needed to try to get as high as possible in hopes of being found. Now, this is not high as you think it is, but that's where I called out someone and heard me this morning and called for a rescue for me. I didn't know who it was, but whoever it was saved my life. Probably.
Yeah.
I would say definitely because you are still alive now.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought America was dumb.
No, they're, they apparently were watching South Park down in Australia. And,
he said, wait a minute. Oh, after the three-day ordeal, the teenager said he would be going home to eat and sleep and shower, probably, he quipped. Thank God emergency services was there because he was absolutely not an experienced hiker, as seen by the fact that he got stuck on the side of an easy mountain. Anyone who came up looked at me, anyone who went up the mountain, anyone who sought help, I really want to extend a thank you to them. He was probably going to give them a lollipop.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's like a popular thing to give to show your appreciation down there. So I don't know what the weather was like when it happened, but assuming that the weather hasn't changed all that much since last week, here, mountainforecast.com is saying that Mount Barney, where he was, has nighttime lows at the summit in the 50s. And, that can kind of be chilly because that's with, 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. So I could see where that, he would find that chilly overnight.
But he was below tree line.
Yeah, so it would have been warmer maybe where he is, these are just rough estimates, but I just thought it was noteworthy because, you have a teenage hiker in the outback who seems to make the same mistakes that we find common with young hikers. relying on a cell phone is as if it's like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. And then out here, when we have temperatures in the summer that reach down in the 40s and stuff on the summits, and they're just like, hey, come rescue me with a helicopter. And, so I guess we have the same problems that Australia has. So, I mean,
yeah.
So,
hey, look, at least he got home, took a warm shower, replenished his stock of lollies, and I'm sure he's good to go. Although he says he's not going to go hiking again anytime soon.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. That's type 2 fun.
Yeah.
Right. It's definitely, he's going to be back out there.
Yeah. Well, what might have been, look, we don't know much about his psychological makeup. It could have been relatively traumatizing for him to be out there like that. So we won't pick on him too much. I know he's probably, in Australia, he's probably a frequent listener of the show. So
I'll have to reach out to him.
Yeah.
So do you want to go over these recent events that come up?
No, you're doing good. I'm just gonna make you do all the work tonight. I'm enjoying my 1911 Tree to Can premium small batch hard cider.
So, this is not that crazy that have happened. We haven't had much happen, which is surprisingly, I think we'll get a difference of that with the snowstorm and stuff like that, the cold weather coming up in the northern Adirondacks.
Well, we haven't had like we did last year. Last year we had a lot of ankle fractures in the Catskills in the winter. And the reason we haven't had that this winter, I'm speculating, is because we haven't had the ice.
Right.
And we haven't had the ice because it's been winter. We haven't had like a thaw and then refreeze to form that ice. It's still relatively, snowpack out there. That could change. But I think that the fact that it's a real robust winter out there proves that all these people that are talking about climate change are just wrong. Okay. Right. You wouldn't have a winter like this if there was global warming. I'm just saying.
Say, man, you haven't said that. You can't disagree with me that the past 10 years of hiking that it has gotten weirder.
Yeah.
That it's been easier and easier
I can't say, yeah,
to get
I
the
can't-
4 summits of 3,500 peaks.
Yeah, I can't say the last. I don't remember any prior year bringing my snowshoes with me as much
Right.
as I have this winter.
I remember a snowstorm that I had to break trail in, goddamn, like, I don't know, it was like 2017, and that was it. Everything else was spikes.
Really, since then, it's been 7 years since you had a break trail.
Tree,
You're
yeah.
That's like, you're like a prima donna. What do you show up like at 11,
It's
11:30?
Wyndham, High
You wait-
Peak.
You make sure people like you make sure Jim Booten's gone out ahead of you to bus trail for you, and then you show up in your Tesla. You get out, you have like a fancy hard cider, take off. Well, the rest of us are out there busting trail.
At that time, I hate to say it, I had my Prius.
Oh yeah,
Outrageous.
yeah.
Even
So,
worse.
No, I kind of broke some trail. Well, I won't say trail because I wasn't on a trail, but I had the snowshoes on this weekend.
Yeah, you broke some trail. Don't say that shit. So this is the town of Minerva, Essex County. So we're talking about Adirondacks.
Yep.
February 8th, Raybook Dispatch received a report from Essex County 911 about an unresponsive hiker on the Wolf Pond Trail. Now, Forest Ranger Brand arrived at 11:45 a.m., so 45 minutes later. Awesome response time. Newcomb Fire Department and Essex County EMS were already on the scene and offering medical assistance. They assisted in packaging a 67-year-old from Schenectady in a litter. Rangers Brandon Perryman, along with New York State Police troopers, and assisted the other to carry out. Subject was transferred to the ambulance by 12:45 p.m. So, if you're on a short trail, you can make it out in under 2 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I would imagine that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and the fact that they reported this fellow as being unresponsive, he's lucky that he was so easy to get to.
No other report other than that saying that the unresponsive and then transferred by ambulance. So, of course, that was 3 days ago. So, awesome job by the Rangers. Of course, we saw that, of course, in 158. They were just, Horn Rusher was absolutely phenomenal. I love that episode.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to it yet, actually park this episode, go back and listen to that one. We'll still be here when you're done listening to it, but it's worthwhile. It was really good, really fun. Those guys are awesome.
And next time it'll be in person. I will make the trek out there. I will sacrifice myself for what I love.
There you go. There you go.
So also, town of North Hudson, Essex County, of course, northern Adirondacks, February 5th, 8:04 p.m. Late in the night, Forage Rangers Lewis and Martin responded when Raybook Dispatch received a call for 2 hikers off the trail near the summit of Grace Peak. So at 12 a.m., with temperatures falling below zero easily, the Rangers located the 76-year-old from Waterford and the 57-year-old from Canada. Rangers escorted the subject back to their vehicles. Resources were clear at 12:45 a.m. So once again, that shows that they contacted at 8:04 and then at 12 a.m., which was nearly 4 hours later, that they located them. So once again, Ted, we talked about this in the last episode, and I was kind of disappointed that you wouldn't probably be able to survive an overnight in the Catskills if you were stranded.
In the winter? In the winter, I think I would. I would not in Mount Washington with what I carry in the Catskills.
True.
And in the condition those folks were rescued off of Mount Washington last week, I don't know how long it takes you to die from hypothermia, but I would be on that road to death, doing what I love on the one hand, but yeah, but in 60-mile-an-hour winds with snow up to your chest, even though I carry, some puffy layers and hard shells and, this, that, the other thing, I think when you go up to those areas and you're going to experience those conditions, you really need to, pack another, I'm going to say probably another 10 liters of gear to be able to, right?
Well done.
Yeah. To be able to spend the night. So,
And
and that's just part of being prepared because I think the whites are more accessible than the Adirondacks. But in either place, like you look at those two women, what was it, like 6-7 hours before anybody got to them? That's a long time when it's, 40, 50, 60 degrees below zero. Okay. That's any exposed flesh is, frostbite.
And that's by they went up by a road. They went up by Snowcat to up there. So just imagine the Adirondacks where you're once again like this Allen Mountain rescue that we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah.
Just you're absolutely effed of it's just it scares me. And then Ted, we've been in these areas. You have a certain part of these calls in the Catskills that get the wind, that just get nonstop wind. I always think of Panther and Giant Ledge, where it's never. I've never experienced that time of where there's no wind in there.
When I went through there 2 hikes ago, I was thinking of you and your assessment of how windy it is going through there, and it resonated with me. It validated it because it was very windy and wintry going through there with the associated drifting that goes with that. And if there had been more snow, those snow drifts would have been that much bigger and slowed you down that much more to get through there. But in my experience, windy areas like that aren't so bad because the fresh snow tends to blow off of them. The worst places to be are like in the bowls where the snow is just going to pile up and pack in. And I was actually experiencing that not only my bushwhack up Giant Ledge, but then this last weekend when you're going up slope or even down slope, and then you just hit those spots where the snow is piled up like 4 or 5 feet because it's just literally just piled right up against a rock outcropping that you won't see because the snow just naturally grades uphill over the rock outcropping. But as you come to the rock outcropping, you just keep going, deeper and deeper because the snow is higher and higher.
True. Yeah. And then it requires a little bit more effort and stuff. And then you burn calories and it's just back and forth. But, I experienced those parts when I said the coals and stuff like that with the wind and the batter of the wind, and you kind of stop because in there you're in a coal, you're like, hey, let's get something to eat, and then all of a sudden you're exposed, you're cold, and then you're like, we got to move, and that kind of makes me feel like you're I wouldn't say above tree line like before, but that's the experience you get in the Catskills that will expose you to those extreme temperatures.
Yeah. So the moral of that story is don't stop where it's windy. Right.
Right.
You got to plan your stops so you're not, exposed in the wind. Especially you see people when they stop to eat, the first thing they do, they take their pack off and then they take off their gloves to start going through their pack because they need that dexterity. And then their hands start to get cold, but they still haven't finished doing what they're doing, so they get the this out, that out, they're opening this, they're opening that, and then they start eating with their gloves off. And you can literally watch their hands go from just a natural flesh color to red. And then they start to turn like pale blue. And then their fingers don't move anymore. And then they need a hand warmer or two, or just a cleaver to chop off the frostbitten areas right there at the mountaintop. So little exaggeration there at the end, folks, for, the drama. But yeah, one of the things is in the winter is you just got to plan ahead for when you're going to fuel up and have your fuel handy and easy to get to. And so you don't have to take your gloves off and get your hands cold.
Yeah. Correct. And, we always want to refuel and stuff at that low point, but sometimes that low point is not the right place. And you want to get on that side that doesn't have the the wind and doesn't have the wind chill that you will experience that will want to make you cold and stuff like that. So once again, like Lockwood Gap, I've always found that area, Lockwood Gap, the gap between Giant Ledge and Plattekill, or not Plattekill, Panther, is just always a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal, though. I love it.
Yeah.
I seriously will sit there and I'll be like sitting in the wind. It'll be like what's her name on the Titanic? I'll be like, oh.
I don't know what was in your hard cider, but I'm just not feeling that.
I feel that.
You get like the double. I just, mine's a 5.5.
I will talk to you about that.
ABV. I don't know what's yours, like a 15.5?
25.5.
Oh, okay. Comes with a side of whiskey.
Yeah. So, thank you to the monthly supporters, Chris Garvey and Jeff Jotz, Desert City Radio, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Vicky Ferrer, Summit Speakers, Betsy A., Denise Weiss, Tom H., Vanessa, and Derek. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Love you guys. Once again, Tab, we're coming close to a big donation towards the Catskills. I reached out to Jeff from the DEC to see if that we could possibly make a big donation towards the like the trailheads, the signs of the Catskills, because I know a lot of these places are deteriorating. And he pointed me in the direction somewhat of that we could get maybe this donation in towards the trail, like the intersections and stuff like that, the signs for the Catskills.
Stop.
It's tough.
What about the kiosk at Panther?
The Panther? Unless they put a sign that says supported by Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains
definitely.
Podcast.
Yeah, like they do on the roads, we're adopt a roadway. We're adopting that kiosk. Damn it.
Trailway.
Yeah, we should do that. We should just start the program. Just do it on our own.
This is greedy. I like it.
Yeah, we're doing it. Okay, so this Saturday at 7 a.m., meet us at the Panther Trailhead by the kiosk. Bring your power tools. If you don't have a Makita 18 volt, don't come.
If you don't have what Matt Smith has to take down the Huckleberry Trail, don't come. So, once again, big thank you to the sponsors of the show. We have Outdoor Chronicles Photography. So capture your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicle Photography. Molly specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography, and she'll immortalize your moments amidst the stunning landscape of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect a unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, discover the wilderness with Trailbound Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education program offered unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start with your journey today with Trailbound Project and unlock the great wonders of the great outdoors. So, Hard Ciders mentions Who's Outdoors is the new mention, I would say, that we're going with. So Tom Who's and Jeff Jotz went to Hawcott and Balsam Lake Mountain, correct?
Yeah, looks like they had a good time. They tagged the show, and so they get a shout out, just like they shouted out us. Don't forget to give us a shout out, tag us in your Instagram postings, and don't forget that the chronogram nominations are still ongoing through the 15th. You can vote once a day per email account. So vote for the show, Best Regional Podcast. You'll find us under Arts and Entertainment, kind of at the bottom of the column. They'll have regional podcasts, and there you'll see your buddies Inside the Line, Catskill Mountain Podcast.
Yeah, so Tom and Jeff should be voting for these guys daily to support us. Jeff had a great time with Orla, which looks to be a fantastic time going up Balsam Lake and Hawkeye, which is I would say never a bad time. So, I mean, going up Balsam Lake is always a good time. If even if you don't have a view, So,
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's a good all-purpose hike. If you live in the Hudson Valley or down in the New York metro area, it's kind of a jaunt to get over there, but it is worthwhile, and it's a great place to take somebody for their first taste of Catskill hiking, because you get them up in the fire tower and they get a view of something,
correct.
And if it's a bad winter day, then they get a taste of the weather above tree line going up there. So
yeah. And, once again, Tom is on his way for his winter 35. I'm pretty sure, Jeff, I don't know what you're going off for yet, but, I'm glad that you're out there with Tom kicking ass and taking names, I gotta say. Ted, you already mentioned about the best regional podcast, so hopefully we get in the top list. I'm hopeful that we can take out these Hudson Valley podcasts that seem to have talking about wine and food and stuff like that.
yeah, well, we're just kind of creeping right in there, and we're going to steal their thunder.
Correct.
As we should.
Yeah, I agree. So you said you have a 1911 tonight?
Yeah, I've got a 1911 original premium small batch hard cider, tree to can, gluten-free. Tastes rather ordinary to me. I mean, there's
gluten-free.
I mean, maybe because it has no glutens, that's why it's lacking in flavor. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. So these we're going to have to see how long that the remaining 3 of this 4-pack last out there. But
oh wow! So I had a 1911 as well.
Which one?
Loganberry.
The original, the Loganberry? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And once again, I can't read what the stuff says. You said 16.
Is yours tree to can?
Yes, it says tree to can on the bottom.
Yeah. Wonder where they grow the Loganberries then, on the tree or in the can?
I don't know, but it's good stuff.
So mine's 5.5. What's yours? ABC or ABV? What do you got going there?
Where does it show it? 6.9.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm into it more.
Yeah, I'm totally not into this podcast tonight. So
yes,
I'm sorry, folks, if I'm kind of the bummer, if I'm killing the vibe with my 5.5.
All right. So previous hikes. What do you want to go over with? Did I talk about Bramley Mountain last time?
Yes, you did. But I mean, it could be, could have been you've hiked it 2 weekends in a row or two hikes in a row.
I'm not going to lie.
That's your go-to. It's like your backyard.
It is. So unfortunately, I didn't make it out this week. So
shame.
I know it was that time of when we didn't know the prediction of the storm. So like you kind of wonder what the areas would be plowed or not. I've been to be honest, over to Spruceton, Hunter Mountain, where it's never been plowed before, which is insane to be one of the most popular trailheads in the area, and it's not been plowed, but I understand because it's the most out of way. But, I stayed at home and I enjoyed, the weekend. Just chilling.
Did you watch the game? Did you watch the Super Bowl?
The crushing?
Yeah.
Yeah. As Alex would say, the kablobbering.
Yeah. It's pretty good, man. Talk about the blitz. Wow.
I know. Wow. Their defense was absolutely on point.
Yeah. Way to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Just freaking screw that. But yeah, I'll get out this weekend, this Sunday. Looking forward to going out. Hopefully, I'm not saying hopefully, we're going to freaking do it anyway. Bearpin and Fly, my friend Mark Sudik is going to cross some more off of his list. So if you want to join.
Yeah. Those are great mountains for winter hiking.
Especially the top of the tree line up there in Bearpin. It's nice. How about you, Ted? What were you up to this weekend? You got some breaking trail to do, eh?
Yeah, so I headed over to McKinley Hollow, and I hiked up to Eagle via an old bark road that goes through one of these glorious but thinning hemlock groves. And I have to say, man, the snow, the character and quality of the snow. It had this reasonably thick, crusty top coat that wasn't thick enough to keep you from punching through it. So you would punch through it to the snow that was underneath, but the snow that was underneath had consolidated a lot into what I call sugar. And so it was like hiking or snowshoeing, if you can imagine, in a bowl of sugar, where every time you put your foot down going uphill, it just tended to slide downhill because the snow wouldn't kink in together like it does when it's a flatter, more angular flake of snow. So it was a rather strenuous hike up that ridge, especially once you get off that bark road and try to make your way up to that ridge that leads to Eagle. But eventually I did make it. It was, it was really nice because there were no tracks to follow. So you were truly, scouting your own route. And I got
Beast.
Yes, definitely.
How old are you again?
I'm 23 because I'm drinking my 1911 original hard cider. But when I got to the canister on Eagle, along came Tom and Lisa, who turn out live down the road from me. They're avid Catskill hikers, are working on their 4 seasons. We chatted for quite a while, and I, even though they seemed to have relatively prosperous careers and that they were in their 30s, I tried to convince them to quit their jobs, sell everything, and just go traveling, right? Which is the best advice I can give people their age.
What you've been doing to me for the past year and a half.
Yeah, if you don't have children, you just unplug and move around. So after trying to be their life coach for about 25 minutes or so, I set off and made my way on trail over to Balsam. I left the shoes on, and I made really, really good time. Saw a lot of people out there, sometimes just because you're by yourself and you can focus on a variety of things. I was keeping track of how many people I passed on the trail. I lost count in the mid-20s. I did run into this older couple foursome on Balsam. I had some fun with them. They were really jolly. And they were quite impressed that after we got done chatting at the summit, the marvelous summit with the natural stone monument on the summit of Balsam, I set out kind of, I'm not going to say due north. I think the bearing is like 110, 120 off of that summit, but that I was not taking the trail down. And so it was the same thing. As I did going up Eagle, I just went down that ridge, and it was fun, man. The snow again was crusty. There wasn't as much drifting, the snow didn't seem to be as deep coming off of Balsam as I encountered going up Eagle. And I attribute that maybe to the wind. But nonetheless, I made it back down to the parking lot, hopped in the Jeep, swung by the grocery in Phoenicia. You know where that is, Stosh? Have you been in there yet?
No. Are you talking about the beer center? That's what I call it.
It's the general store in downtown Phoenicia.
I call it the secret beer center.
Yeah, they've got in the back, it's like it has the entrance to their beer cave is like the most nondescript. It's almost like you need a secret handshake or code or gesture to get back there. There's you do know that it's the beer cave because there's like this sign that says no backpacks and no duffel bags or something like that. You go in there, and then I have kind of like this moment where I'm thinking, because you're literally in the beer cooler and nobody knows you're in there, it seems. So it's like, what if all of a sudden the lights went out and you try to open the door and you can't because they just shut down and the door's locked now? So I wonder if my Garmin, if you need to bring your Garmin in when you go in. So that's where I saw this 1911. I thought, gee, it would be fun to pick up this 1911 original premium small batch hard cider with the 5.5% alcohol content and crack it open on the show as I did tonight. But again, man, I don't know what your enthusiasm is for hard cider.
You got the wrong hard cider, man.
It is? Well, but this is the original. How could they have survived so long with the original that's so unoriginal? It's just like mediocre cider.
To be honest, I've never tried their original.
No?
I'll have to send you like an awestruck or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'll try next when I trudge my way through these other 3 cans somehow.
Send them to me. I'll take care of them.
You will? All right. Well, we'll have to hook up for a hike, and then I'll give you my 3-pack of originals. So, all right, that's my hike report. That's my trashing the hard cider. I got nothing. You got any Catskill news, weather forecast?
I got, once again, the Catskills area is making up their calendars as we speak and stuff like that. So if you're ready to volunteer, 3500 Club is doing with their stuff, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitors Center, Jolly Rover Trail Crew, Bramley Mountain. Any place that you can volunteer would be substantial. And if you do volunteer, tag us, because that is a great thing that I'm promoting for this podcast is volunteering for the Catskills is substantial to not just the Catskills, but anywhere in hiking community is a great deal that we want to celebrate, and we'll do that here on the podcast.
So this is where I'm going to suggest that we will come up with another segment. We'll come up with another tag for folks to use, and then we'll give them a shout out on the show. Those listeners who have volunteered in some meaningful way in the Catskills. And we're going to do that Trailhead Steward thing this summer?
We did it last year. Why not?
So, all right, let's do that. Maybe we'll turn it into a cookout with our fans. We'll have a fan appreciation cookout where we'll make, We'll
just have to leave no trace. That's the only thing you have to do. So you can bring a freaking grill in the back of your car. Or back of your Jeep, which you could fit it. And people would love hot dogs, but it just sucks that last time we had a beautiful day and we only had like 20 visitors.
I think we still did good.
I think the cookies really did really good. But once again, if you need stickers, let me know. So, Tab, we're going to base the weather forecast this weekend on your summit to Balsam Mountain.
Okay.
So, have you looked?
For this weekend, I think it's mild this weekend. That's my recollection.
You know what? We're supposed to get some snow.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to get snow later in the day, Saturday, Sunday.
So Friday looks pretty decent. Some clouds, cloudy. A high of 18 degrees and a low with the wind chill of negative 15. So once again, I've never found these mountain weather forecasts to be 100% accurate, but I still base my preparedness on that, just in case. Just frickin' in case. So Saturday, we're coming in with moderate snow to light snow, a total of accumulation throughout the day of maybe 5 to 6 inches, a high of 34 later on in the day, but a low of negative 8 with the wind chill. So once again, bring all that you can. Who cares if you have to bring snowshoes? It's an extra 2 pounds.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of hiking in the winter is carrying that REI store around on your back.
So. Right. And then Sunday, it looks like light snow to moderate snow with accumulation of around 5 inches as well, but high of 34, low, going down at the middle of the night to negative 22. My kind of shit.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. So once again, New York State balances. It doesn't balance. It fucking fluctuates up and down. Carry anything and everything, whatever.
Have fun. Be prepared and have fun.
Yeah, be prepared. You know what? If you carry those extra snowshoes or the spikes, I see a lot of questions of that. What should I bring this weekend? Just bring everything. And then that next hike you have in the summer, you'll just feel like you're freaking going all out light packing and stuff like that. You're a light backpacker because you don't have the snowshoes or the spikes.
Yeah.
And I bring, Tad, we talked about this on the last episode. I bring freaking anything and everything to save your life or some other person's life. You never know. You never know.
Do you carry defibrillators with you?
I have to in my emergency pack.
Really? You have defibrillators with you? So
actually,
if I'm just kidding. So if I flatlined on the top of plateau, you
CPR 100%.
Okay.
Just learned that. Actually, just got my CPR certificate with the Catskill Mountain Search and Rescue Team last week. So
this hard cider tastes better when it gets warmer. Do you drink it chilled?
I do.
Yeah. No, this is as it's been sitting out. The flavor comes alive as it comes up to room temperature. In that respect, it's kind of like a stout beer.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess, you know what? Maybe we'll have to have an in-person thing, and we'll just get hard ciders galore down at your place.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is I just don't know how to drink cider.
Maybe.
Yeah, that could be the problem. Oh well. I'm gonna have to watch a YouTube video on how to drink cider 101. Is there a cider podcast? Is there like a cider podcast?
Oh, what was that podcast? That guy's what's his name? The beer guy, the Beers in New York guys that we did. Phil Vondra and
yeah. I wasn't on for that, but I think it's Inside the Can. Hard cider podcast. Inside the Can. Yeah. That's
Phil Vondra is gonna steal this. Yeah. Oh man, good for them.
We're trademarking it.
Yeah. So let's do with our last set of awesome sponsors, and then we'll get on to the guest tonight. That sounds
awesome. Let's do it.
Awesome. So discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff that's here and help every hiker from beginner to seasoned pros. We also carry a variety of unique Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, discover the beauty of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and Hudson Valley with Scenic Route Guiding. Our expert guides to ensure a safe, unforgettable hiking experience tailored to your skill level. From breathtaking vistas to hidden gems, or if you're peak bagging to just simple day hikes, we'll lead you to the best spots and back. Book your adventure today and explore nature's wonders with Scenic Route Guiding. Check them out on all social media platforms. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code word Mountain Lion. And you should also embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today at anothersummit.org. All right, so let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight, Dr. Gates is here to talk with us about his book, Reclaiming Our Planet, talks about climate change. And once again, if everybody's been out hiking in the Catskills, anywhere in the United States and the world, will know that climate change is happening. And, you know, we can't really pinpoint it on one thing or another, but, you know, Dr. Gates is going to be here to talk to us about climate change tonight and what's it doing in the Catskills? What can it be doing? What can we do to resolve that? All if, and, or buts, hopefully. And we're here to have a good time, right, Dr. Gates?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how about you give a little background about yourself? Say hi first and then give a little background about yourself.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. And background. So I grew up in Rockland County. I went to Spring Valley High School. So if any of you people are from that area, that's where I went. And when I was a teenager, I used to hike around in Harriman State Park. So not quite the Catskills, but up in that direction. And I decided, you know, I like doing it. So I used to go as much as I could. And so I said, you know, I got to find me a job where I can walk around the woods and get paid for it. And so I went into geology. So I've done a heck of a lot of walking around the woods and being paid for it, from Maine to Georgia and Colorado, all kinds of places. So that's mostly what I started. I'm a geologist. As I said, I study faults and I actually worked. I worked for the New York State Geological Survey, and my area was the Western Hudson Highlands. So, not quite the Catskills again, but down in the Hudson River Valley, all the way up to about I don't know, Newburgh area, and then all the way down to the state line. So I mapped a lot in that area, and most of the time, though, I've been a professor at Rutgers University in Newark, and I've been there for 38 years. Oh my God!
Wow,
So anyway,
wow.
yeah, thank you. So I've been, I have, did the research and wrote professional papers, and more recently I started writing textbooks. So I've written a bunch of textbooks, and then I said, I want to try to write a book for the general public to see if I can have any influence there. So that's my new book. My Reclaiming Our Planet is my first try at a book for the general public.
Excellent. Amazing. So 38 years at Rutgers University. Wow. That is congratulations. And so what was your study there that you've basically been teaching out there?
Right now I'm just teaching. I wrote a textbook called Polluted Earth. So right now I'm teaching an environmental geology class, but most of the time I studied faults, which is part of what's called structural geology. So as I said, anytime there's earthquakes, you'll see me on the news.
Nice.
Heck, I was on the one in last April. They had me on BBC Worldwide. That's the first time I was ever on a worldwide news. Normally it's this local stuff.
That's the one that happened down in New Jersey, right?
Yeah. That was a big one.
So you're like a internationally famous guest, right?
Well,
And now, so from the BBC News, now you've climbed the pinnacle of newsworthy information, and here you are on Inside the Line.
Yeah, you hit peak now.
That's it.
Yeah,
I can retire.
It only goes down here from now, Dr. Gates.
So you said you were with the USGS. Ted, we've had people from the USGS. I'm pretty sure Carl Backus that I've had on here, and who was the other one that we had on here recently that was from the USGS? Was that
Titus? Titus is not from USGS.
No, he's a geological professor. Oh man, he was talking about the fossil forest down in the Catskills. He was just recently on. I'm so bad. I'm sorry.
Charles with the
museum for Stratton.
Yeah,
he's at the New York State Geological Survey. I worked with Chuck when I was. I was at the New York State Geological Survey, and I worked with Chuck. I've known him for how many? Since 1990. So
wow, nice. Yeah, we just had him recently on. He was a fantastic guest.
So Dr. Gates, I'm going to ask you a trick question.
Okay.
What's Chuck Verstratten's favorite animal?
That I don't know. He's never told me that.
It's a porcupine.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know why. That's the porcupines. They're like the sloths of North America.
Yeah.
Just sit there and destroy everything. So let's chat about Reclaiming Our Planet, your new book. Sure. Now you're an author, so we're gonna. Is it Dr. Gates, Author Gates? Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah, whatever you want to call me. At school they all call me Dr. Gates or Professor Gates, but when I'm outside of the university, you don't have to call me that anymore. So
what inspired you to go with making a book called Reclaiming Our Planet?
Well, I have an agent, and she said, for your first book, you got to do something that's topical and everybody will like to hear about. And I said, well, geez, I don't know that much about topical stuff. I could write about, climate change. And she says, great, write about climate change. I wasn't real excited about it, but it's topical, so people would want to hear about it. So I'm getting some publicity out of it. It's so controversial. I wind up with a lot of people not liking what I say. So that's where I had my second thoughts about it.
So, Doc, speaking of topical and controversial, why don't we start off our discussion tonight with getting some of the lingo straight? Because sometimes that fuels the debate or settles the debate. But I hear commonly people refer to climate change and global warming. Is that one and the same thing? Are they different things? If they're different, how are they different?
Well, I mean, climate change refers to any change in climate, whether it's cooling or warming or shifting of belts or things like that. Whereas, global warming means the whole, just warming and the whole planet is warming. So in this case, what we're doing now, we are dealing mostly with global warming, but they wanted to kind of give it that more general term of climate change. So that's basically really, for us, it's the same thing,
Mm-hmm. So in your book, what is the topic focus with? Reclaiming our planet from what? What is it we're reclaiming or should be reclaiming the planet from?
Well, the climate change, the book basically it looks at what's happening so far, because right now, as you know, when you go on the internet and whatever you want to find, you'll find. So it makes people kind of just go in the directions of whatever, somebody tells them or what they want to believe in the first place. So first thing I wanted to do is to get all of the, the scientific data out there so people can make their own decisions on whether they believe in climate change or not. And so the first thing was to kind of go through all of the things that are happening and how that we know it's climate. I mean, we know that it's CO2 that we're generating too much of. We know it's from fossil fuels. I mean, carbon dioxide is a little bit of a trouble spot because we exhale it, and so do all other animals. So it's naturally occurring, but it's also not naturally occurring. And so so people say, well, how do you know it's just not coming from, more people breathing or things like that? But we actually can tell the difference between carbon dioxide that comes from fossil fuels and carbon dioxide that comes from inhaling and exhaling. And so we know that the amount of in the book, it shows, you could tell that we figured out a way to do this many years ago, and we can show that its increase in carbon dioxide is coming from fossil fuel burning. That's it, is no question. And then to go through that all of the things that have been changing over the past, how many years, and basically people kind of talk about wanting to bring this back to, 1900. But the reality is that things were going okay until about late 70s, early 80s, as far as climate change goes. And so it's about, maybe a little over a 40-year problem right now that we are dealing with. That if we can stop it or even reverse it back for those 40 years, everything will be great. And so what I did in this book was, because everybody says, oh my gosh, you can't do it. We're all doomed. There's a lot of doomsday people on this. There's a lot of people who say we can only slow it down. We can't stop it. And what I have to say to them is that's not true. It's just not true. And we have had many very nasty pollutants that we've had to deal with over the years, and we defeated them. We did the right thing, and we defeated it. And we've overcome some great things, and the Earth is a much better place for it. So all we have to do is learn, and that's the second part of it, in the subtitle on this is how environmental history can help solve the climate crisis. And that's to look back at what we've already done and what we managed to do, and just use those principles, and we can do the same now.
Yeah, agree. And you can't say that Tad and I have been hiking. Tad's been, hiking for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, stuff like that. I've been hiking in the Catskills for the past, 10 years, 10, 11 years. And I can't say, that stuff has changed. I remember snowstorms used to be massive snowstorms, and they would stay like that for the whole winter, that we would have a constant winter. And it's kind of like what's happening, this day, like right now, today, we've had a constant winter going on for the first time in like 10 years. And you got to always think of that. You're like, damn, well, last year there was full of ice. It was just ice. We got a major dump here, and then it melted off in a matter of 2 days. And then we had 60, 70-degree days. I remember hiking on one day in January, like 3 years ago, and it was 75 degrees in January. Wow. I cannot bring back some time in my childhood when I went out in January in shorts and a t-shirt and worried about ticks when I played in January. And then holy shit, I totally forgot to talk about ticks. Like the tick population, why is that changing? But how with your book and your knowledge about this, how is this climate change affecting the Catskills specifically? Because we're a Catskills podcast. We might as well keep it on the Catskills, right?
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously climate change changes things all over the place, but in the Catskills per se, I mean, the problem is with the temperature going up, things tend to dry out much faster. So, you get, whereas before, if it didn't rain for a month, things might be able to get through it. Now it doesn't rain for a month, it's much hotter. And we wind up with serious issues for forest fires. And of course, we've heard lots of stories now, even recently about forest fires out west. We had, a major drought down here, at least in New Jersey. I think it went up into New York as well, into the Catskills this past year. And the problem is, you can't tie every single little thing to saying, well, this is climate change per se, because you get droughts now and then, but the problem is they're continuous. That dryness is going to continue to get worse, and we're going to wind up with dry conditions in areas that you have to be very careful, because we don't want fire. We don't want to have what happened in Los Angeles happening up here in the Catskills. So the first thing I would say is that the dryness from the temperature is one problem, and then to go along with that, we just don't know about these changes change the the rain patterns, the weather patterns, and so you might all of a sudden start getting less rain that goes along with that. And so not only do you wind up with dryness on the surface, you'll wind up with the water table dropping. And so wells that used to be able to, produce water might not produce water anymore. And of course, the Catskills has a big responsibility of making sure that it keeps reservoirs going for the whole of New York City. So, I mean, those are mostly the problems that we can see from there, is the temperature and rainfall are going to be the two biggest things that the Catskills have. However, there's other things as well. I mean, we had in not quite the Catskills, but some of the lakes down there, maybe you've had them too, but we wound up with blue-green algae, which is really a bacteria in the lakes. They had to shut down a lot of our, recreational lakes from northern New Jersey into southern New York a couple of years ago, because all of a sudden you get these algal blooms. And then, as I said, they're not real algae. They're blue-green algae, which is cyanobacteria. So that puts out poisons.
And that comes from the heating, right? The temperatures of the lakes are too warm, the river, stuff like that.
That's right, exactly. And so we had those all the way, in Greenwood Lake, which is a decent-sized lake down there. And that's actually Catskill Rocks, but it's not in the Catskills proper. But that, you couldn't go in it. So that kind of stuff, which is normally kind of kept farther south, things are creeping north that we used to not have to worry about before. And so, equine encephalitis, some of these other, diseases that are showing up in the Northeast that we didn't have to worry about before. So those are some of the things that you have problems with. And in addition, the water in the oceans is heating up. So, it gets warmer. The surface temperature of the water gets worse every year. And so the thing is we usually, once you get past that, coming north, you get past the Gulf Stream, and that's about North Carolina, the water gets much colder, and most hurricanes that come up just fall apart once they cross that line. But now the surface temperature of the water out there is getting warmer and warmer, and if it crosses that magic number of 79 degrees, the hurricanes, when they come up the coast, can keep staying big and coming up. And if you get those into the Catskills, you can wind up with some nasty floods. Man,
Yeah.
we've had some nasty floods in recent times up in the area.
Tad, there you go.
Yeah, well, floods in the Catskills. We sure have had some doozies in the past 20 years. And I read somewhere recently, and maybe you can validate this for me, Doctor, but they project that in the next, by the year 2050, the projection is there'll be 5 to 10% more annual rainfall in the Catskills. Is that correct?
Is that from just from big storms coming up the coast? That I could believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
from like tropical depressions,
Right.
tropical storms, stuff like that.
Right, that normally would lose all their punch by the time they got up here. Now, for sure, we're getting more hurricanes than we did in the past. So the number, it's constantly uphill, and we get some years that are just phenomenal. We get, huge numbers of hurricanes. They run out of letters, so they have to start over again on the alphabet, with the names for the storms. We get so many. And as I said, those storms are making it much farther north than they used to. So now, this whole area, including, the New York metropolitan area, but including the Catskills, can get hit by big storms. And, that can be real deadly.
So some of the questions we have tonight, one of them that I think would be very interesting to our listeners who are predominantly a Catskill-centric base is if you are aware and can point out for us any existing changes caused by climate change that somebody hiking in the Catskills can see with their own eyes.
Well, I mean, as I said, the easiest thing I can see is sometimes depending where you are, they tell you about fire danger, and normally you can get them a little bit, but what you can get is much more of those days where you're going to wind up having to worry about danger, of fires. So, I mean, I've seen the signs, I haven't been up hiking per se in the Catskills for a while, but they used to have those signs that tell you if it's a high day or a low day. So that, for number one, you're going to wind up with more high days of danger for forest fires than you would in the past. Again, some of the, now I don't know about, I've noticed the ticks have moved north over the years. When I was a kid, we didn't have ticks up here. They were only in the south. So whether that, there are other, insects and animals that are moving northward that you might run into. Certainly, some vegetation has been moving northward. You can get, bamboo growing now in stands up this far north, which you never could in the past.
Is that also like the what is that? The cherry tree? Is that due to climate change as well? What is that? The stuff that grows along the riverbanks.
Sure.
I'm sorry. They all along our riverbanks up here. They have them.
The Japanese knotweed.
Japanese knotweed. Is that also? Would you say
for $200?
Yeah, right.
Well, those are all invasives,
invasive?
But they're invasive species. But and a lot of things that came over as invasive species were mostly in the south, but a lot of them are moving northward. So, Japanese knotweed was once we had that down in Rockland County for a while, but as it moves up northward, then you'll start getting more of it in up in the Catskill region. So.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, is it the case that other than significant storm events, the changes that we're seeing now are somewhat subtle and gradual?
Yes, that's the problem with climate change, because, as I said, things, the weather changes from year to year. And, you can have droughts, you can have wet, big storms and things like that. And it's not, you can't say, wow, look at this big change. It's not something that you can see so easily. It's subtle changes that slowly build up. And so people then kind of don't say, well, you don't see it from year to year. They'll say, it's not happening. And that's why we can get so many deniers, because there's subtle changes that are just going to slowly accumulate over time. So you can see, so for example, if you go down to New Jersey, right, we had over the past 20 years, we now have twice as many days in the 90s as we did 20 years ago. Okay. And so therefore, if you go up into the Catskills and look, I'd be willing to bet the increase in temperature is the same up there, that you're going to wind up with twice as many 90-degree days as you had 20 years ago. So, 20 years, well, do you really remember that well? 20 years ago, was it 590, was 10, it's not that many. You can't see it, but it is happening. It's twice as many 90-degree days. So
what I've read about this is you need to distinguish weather events from climate patterns. And so this winter, we're having a particularly wintry winter with a lot of snow cover, a lot of we would now call unusually cold days, but maybe 50 years ago were typical winter days. But this is just one winter out of the last 20, 30, 40 winters that seems particularly snowy and particularly cold. But the trend has been for warmer winters and shorter winters. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We've been having much and less snowfall. The snowpack tends to be very small prior to this year. And this year they don't even, this year the idea is that the warming in the poles has disrupted the jet stream. And so now the jet stream, rather than going, straight across the country up high, is making these dips down below. And so really the cold weather this year is from global warming up in the Arctic. The temperatures are way above normal. They're 10 to 15 degrees higher than usual, and it's causing the disruption of this jet stream and driving the cold temperatures to the south. I used to live in New Orleans, and this year they had 10 inches of snow in New Orleans. You never get 10 inches of snow in New Orleans. So
yeah. That was definitely a crazy event, seeing my friends down in Texas and North Carolina enjoying the snow for the first time in their life. And, my family from over California traveling to North Carolina and just being like, oh my God, this is unreal. And, I could remember a while ago when I lived out in Arizona and I traveled up north to Sedona and Scottsdale and stuff, and seeing people driving up from Phoenix, just going up to this little crest that had never seen snow before, and they said they got 2 to 3 inches, and they acted like it was crazy. And this was back in the 2000s, and now my friends from Sedona and Scottsdale are now reporting snow very commonly, and so it's just been it's. You always are on either side, and that's what we can influence them to say, this has been an unusual time for the past 10 years, 15 years and stuff. So, we have to have back and forth. Of course, you always got to have that influence. And let me just ask this. So if you could go back in time to witness one of the major environmental victories that we talk about that you can say in your book, which one would it be?
Well, let's see. If you want me to get one that I have a couple that directly affect people in the Catskills, so I should probably go for those first.
Perfection.
Yes. Oh. Okay, so the first one is that there was this pesticide called DDT that was invented back, it was a long time ago, but they didn't realize it was a good pesticide until late 30s, and they used it in the war, and they came out and they used to spray it everywhere. They would spray it all over, fields, and they would mist streets. Kids would be running behind trucks spraying the stuff so they get the DDT mist all over them during the day. That's what they would do because everyone thought it was safe. And women wound up with so much in their systems that they were, people were advised not to nurse their babies in the 60s because you could give them a toxic dose in mother's breast milk. It was that bad. The part that affects people in the Catskills, though, was that the DDT would get into it would what's called biomagnify and bioaccumulate, so it would get up into the predators and the predatory birds on the apex predators in the food chain, and it would substitute for calcium in their eggs, and it made the eggs so soft, the shells so thin, that when the mothers sat on them to brood, they would crack the eggs and they would wind up with no hatchlings at all. And so by the late 60s, 67, we were down to 419 mating pairs of bald eagles in the United States. Right?
Yeah, I remember we had
Total.
this, just to let you know, we had this talk in episode 61 of Pete and I. So keep on going. Yeah, 61 in the whole United States.
Right. And so then they banned, that was one of the things that Rachel Carson identified. It was her big thing, was DDT. And they banned DDT in 1972. And since then, it's completely wiped. Obviously mothers are encouraged to nurse their babies now. It's out of everything that we have, and we now have. This was 3 years ago. We had 320,000 bald eagles in the continental United States. So it's quite that much of an increase was quite the story. It went up like 50, 60 times what it was, or more than that, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't just that. It was peregrine falcons were completely wiped out from the whole eastern half of the United States. They only had a very small amount out west, but no peregrine falcons here at all. They had almost wiped out the brown pelican by the time Louisiana declared it as their state bird. There weren't any in Louisiana, and so most of these birds were almost gone. And
this
now,
is all the DDT.
All because of DDT. So brown pelicans, there's more brown pelicans now than there were when people first colonized the country. There's the peregrine falcons are completely recovered. Everything completely recovered, based on just banning this DDT, getting it out. And it was a lot of work to do it, but we did it, and we did the right thing, and it's completely gone. It's completely taken care of. So that's one. Now, you want another one that's a little north of you guys, but it impacted you too, is that in the Midwest, they generated most of their electricity using coal. And they didn't have any scrubbers in the chimneys, so anything came out of those chimneys would go up into the atmosphere, and so all of the at least most of the natural lakes in the Adirondacks were dead. Okay, and most of the lakes in Catskills as well, because of acid rain fallout, and so we had so much SO2, sulfur dioxide coming out, being rained out of the atmosphere. It would get into our waters, into our lakes, and would make them acidic, wipe out all the fish. They were completely dead, and all the way down into there, it was destroying our vegetation. They were all having a difficult time growing, and the leaves would get burned from the fallout, and that was through the Catskills as well. We're talking about back in the 70s, and they decided to address the issue of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. They banned it. The EPA took a swing at it, and it has fallen by 94% since 1980. And the air now across the United States is the same, as terms of acid rain, is the same as it was in 1890. So we've actually completely removed all of the problems that we had happening during all the way up into the 70s, completely removed both of those things.
Now, was this in a big part due to, you said the 1890s, so after that we started getting the trains into here. So now I'm guessing that has to do a big part with trains just burning all that fuel up in the air.
Well, it's mostly, most of it got built up, but it was in the Midwest. All of their power plants used to be coal fired. And so the coal dust and the coal exhaust wasn't being filtered at all, and it would just float all the way up to to this area and rain out the sulfur out of the coal fumes. And they had other things too, like mercury. We used to have mercury problems coming out of the air in the Catskills back in the in the 70s and 80s. And it's all gone. There's no mercury problem anymore. It's not coming out of the air, and there's no sulfur, and even nitrogen oxides that used to come out of the air too. We don't even have those problems anymore. They're down 70%. Yeah.
Right. So Doc, we need to talk now. Okay.
Yep.
I heard you say they decided in 1980. Is that about right? You said they decided, they put scrubbers in the smokestacks. They got rid of the sulfur dioxide. They cleaned up the air by 94%. Did I hear all that right?
Yes.
Now, are you aware what February 10th was just a day ago?
No.
It was the deadline for the new and improved climate plans to be submitted by countries who are committed to the Paris Agreement. Why are you smiling? You know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Right? So the plans, known as nationally determined contributions, outline emission targets through the year 2030, which is, Stosh, how many years away is 2030?
5.
Yeah, I guess so. 5 years away, and explain how countries plan to reach those targets. Everyone has known about these looming deadlines for years. Yet just 10 of the 195 member countries of the Paris Agreement submitted their nationally determined contributions. Countries missing the deadlines represent 83% of global emissions and nearly 80% of the world's economy. So, Doctor, you're smiling. I think you know what the question is.
Keep going.
If 83% of the global emitters of carbon dioxide warming gases aren't on board with shutting down these emissions, what the F are we going to do?
I was going to say, are we effed?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about what we did with DDT, what we did with mercury. In your book, you talk about lead paint, and they, meaning the government, has got to be behind these changes. They did it before, but it doesn't sound like anybody is doing it now. Why is that?
Well, I made all of those nice stories and said, oh, look at all these stuff happen, but it wasn't without work.
Yeah.
So, as I said, DDT was, Rachel Carson was, the champion that started this up, and people got furious during the 1960s and protested. And, the first Earth Day was in 1970, and it was organized by 2 graduate students, mind you, and 20 million people attended. 20 million.
Wow.
At the time, that was 10% of the country. And if that many people attended, there was equal a number of people who would have attended. And so, we scared the daylights out of the politicians. Because people raised their fist up and said, we're not going to take it anymore. And that's how it changed. It was not, nobody changed anything because they felt like it. They fought those people tooth and nail. But they personally attacked them. They threatened them. But we had some people who were willing to stick their neck out and do some work on it.
Yeah. Well, and I think just as before, it cost a lot of money to put these scrubbers in. to clean up these coal plants, to clean up the environment. Certainly these big corporations who had huge lobbying power were not on board with it.
Right.
And it took a monstrous public outcry. And it somewhat reminds me of a place north of where I grew up, was this place they called the Love Canal. Remember the Love Canal, right?
Yeah, it's in my book.
Yeah. So, right. The Love Canal, notorious.
This is going beyond what I want to.
Yeah.
This is
all right. Yeah. But we did it before.
Explain.
Well, the Love Canal was where the Hooker Chemical Company buried all sorts of toxic waste. And when the Hooker Chemical Company was done burying all this toxic waste from their chemical plant, the government came in, and what did they do? What did they do with this landfill created by the Hooker Chemical Company, Stosh? Do you know what the government did with that land, that area? Did they entomb it so the chemicals wouldn't spread? Did they convert it into a shopping mall? Or did they turn it into a public school?
Jesus Christ, please, none of the above?
A whole town. It wasn't just a public school.
The school was in the center, the hub of it, and the houses were around it. And after rainstorms, kids would play outside with this oozing orange, waste, oozing up to the surface. So,
and that's how we got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, kid.
Yeah. So Doc, what I want to know, and I know Tom, who's driving in his car upstate to go hiking, wants to know, what is the answer to this question? If 83% of the global emitters didn't turn in their plan this time, when is it that we actually reach this point of no return, where climate change has now acquired so much momentum, that there's been such a shift in the trajectory that reversing the course of climate change is going to take more than the global human willpower that you can muster up against it? When do we reach that point of no return, Dr. Doomsday?
Well, to tell you the truth, we don't know. That's the problem. Now,
so what is it, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now?
Well, it's more like how much CO2 and how much temperature, before things start to disrupt enough that we're going to screw things right now. And I don't know if we're talking about to the point of what no return is. What it's going to be is that we're going to shift around the weather patterns so much that we're going to wind up not being able to produce enough food for the people on the planet. And then we're going to wind up with these big wars. And then that's pretty much where things are going to fall apart. It's going to be more like the resources start not being, if we can't produce enough food for all these huge number of people we got, then we're going to have big problems. And that's kind of where the turning point really for us is. As far as for the whole planet goes, there was a time, and it's in the book as well, at the end of the Permian period, about 250 million years ago, we had a case of natural, climate change and global warming from volcanoes. And it wiped out 96% of all life in the oceans and 75% of all life on land. So wow. We were down. We almost wiped all life off the planet because, and the change in temperature was a heck of a lot slower than we're going now. That's the scary part.
250 million years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's. I would say it's tough. It's tough for us to adapt because of the human species are so stubborn and stuff like that. But what about the the plants and stuff like that, the animals? Can the plants adapt to this to still create as much oxygen as we've had before and stuff? Can they adapt to not say reverse what's happened, but kind of balance what happened while we also balance what happened as well? So we can kind of have a mutual thing going on.
I mean, plants are growing better than they did before because higher CO2 contents means the plants are going to grow. Now, the problem is we're cutting down forests faster than you can grow them. The Amazon rainforest is being just torn apart. And so if we keep removing, we cut down 27,000 trees a day to make toilet paper for the people in the United States, So, we're knocking down trees faster than they can grow. And we really don't have a plan yet for how we're going to replace the oxygen. Now, there is one thing in the book that you can do that nobody is doing now, which we should, is they have, there's enough technology to do this. And we already have engines that'll run on biofuels, 100% biofuels, but you can make biofuels out of algae. And algae, it grows, it's the fastest growing plant in the world, and you can harvest it every 2 weeks. And for every ounce of this algae you would produce, you take out 1.3 to 1.8 ounces of CO2 out of the atmosphere. So if we started using algal biofuels, instead of, some of the biofuels we now are horrible for the environment. If we started using algal biofuels, and we could be having these, biofuel plants any place we want. They've got them all over the world already. We just don't use those in the cars. We could actually reverse the CO2 amount in the atmosphere. So it's possible. We're just not doing it right now.
Yeah, it's tough to get of course, everybody on board with this, with changes and stuff like that. Of course, money is the biggest problem
Absolutely.
that we got going on, and it's once again. It was I had second thoughts about getting you on, Dr. Gates, because it's just such a, I hate to say, a clusterfuck with everybody going which way, and now everybody's so politically divided. But you got to admit, like, within the past 10-15 years, Ted, I'm not saying that you and Alec, Dr. Gates, are older than me, but stuff is different. Like, I cannot say that when I was a kid, I was enjoying winter, stuff like that. But now I'm just like, this is just so odd that we have just stuff. Like, it's just rain and a snowstorm here and there, and then melt, and then it's just nice weather, and like so many different times of when you're just like, man, this is nice weather, and I'm just like, this is fucking winter. We shouldn't have this weather. Are you kidding me? Like, how do you go with that, Dr. Gates? How do you, like, basically say, like, someone's just like, nothing's happening, like, screw you, you're wrong. How do you fight against that somewhat?
Well, yeah. What's the response to the climate denier? Give us.
I just keep on hiking.
What's your go-to line or response to somebody who just tells you that global warming is a crock of shit?
Climate change.
It's it's obviously, the problem is we can't convince everybody. My biggest problem right now, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest problems we have right now is the internet, because, there's people are flooding it. Before, in the old days, you had to have things with newspapers and stuff. Now they could just flood garbage on the internet that's complete lies. And people will, don't know how to tell the difference between the truth and a lie on the internet anymore, because it's so flooded, and it looks real, and our elected officials are telling us things that aren't true. And so you wind up with this stuff going on, and that's the hardest part. I say to people, don't give up on this. Those are the ones who believe it. I said, look, we got to do something about this. And you want to know the biggest problem is that from 1974, which isn't that long ago, I remember 74, and from then till now, we've doubled the population of the planet. And we've 4 billion people more in the past 50 years, which is, phenomenal growth. And so if you look at that increase in CO2, it tracks right along with the population.
Wow.
And so the problem is that people grow up, if their parents or maybe me still being around, we had certain practices and habits and things like that, and we just keep doing them without thinking. But things are different, because we got so many more people. We have to do things differently now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest thing to get people to understand. It's not so much that everybody's being horrible and burning a lot of fossil fuels and making fires everywhere and doing things much worse than they did back 50 years ago. It's not the case. It's that there's so many more people that now we've the amount of output of this CO2 and other greenhouse gases is tremendous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Crazy. So I don't know what Stosh wants to do next, but maybe while he's pondering that, I want to jump back up to where you told us that scientists have determined scientifically that the increase in CO2 emissions is from fossil fuels and not CO2 emissions from other sources. How are they able to make that determination?
Okay, so that was discovered in 1952.
Wow.
And at that point, the guy who made it was called Hans Suess, and he named it the industrial effect. And basically, the idea is this: when you have to date old things that are that humans made or things like that, they use what's the dating called?
Carbon dating.
Right. Carbon-14 dating. And carbon-14 is made in the atmosphere from sunlight hitting nitrogen, and it becomes carbon-14. And so anything that we exhale, CO2, has carbon-14 in it. But if you bury it underground for a long time, all the carbon-14 decays away and you wind up with only carbon-13. So what they do is they look at the ratio of carbon-14 to 13, and it perfectly tracks the increase in CO2. It's all carbon-13. There's no carbon-14 in it. So we can, if you look at you get online and look at, carbon ratios on how they track carbon, you can see it perfectly is that way. And that system, then you can take a sample of air any place on the planet, as long as it's not right in a smokestack, and you can determine how much extra, carbon has been dumped into the atmosphere from fossil fuels at any time.
And that's because the fossil fuels originated from deep in the earth.
Well, the problem is when they were first started, they were plants and animals on the surface, but they got buried, and the carbon-14 disappears after about 28,000 years, and most of the oil and gas is 10 to 50 million years old, in that range. So all the carbon-14 is gone out of it. And so therefore that ratio, they compare it to wood from 1890 is the benchmark. And so you can see this just poof, it's just falling apart.
Amazing. So now one of the things I want to kind of cover and say is like, I don't know why people have a big problem with making the earth a better place, to make it like cleaner, stuff like that. Like I know a lot of money has to be involved with it and such like that, but simple things that you can do at home to like make the world, like composting, recycling, stuff like that. Like Tad's a big recycler, right?
I try to be. I could always do better. But,
and we always clean up after each other, leave no trace, stuff like that.
Right.
Tad, I remember you talking in a previous episode of using a new snack that has the wrapper is biodegradable, correct?
Yes. I'm still on that. I'm still on the hunt for the perfect trail food.
So why the hell not? Can't we like do that kind of stuff gradually, everybody, and influence other people to make this world a better place for the next generation? I don't have kids, just to let you know. So I can't say that I'm going to make this place better for my kids down the road. I'm actually making this place better for Tad's kids or for, any other kids that I just want to be that kind of person.
Or your nephew.
My nephews, right?
Yeah.
Like,
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
like it's just, why not try to make it a better place? We have the science. We have the backup to at least go in the forward projections to make this kind of like a better place, to make the world last longer and stuff, and not have to go to frickin' a desert up in Mars, 3 billion miles away. So
why is it? You want to know? It's 3 words. Greed is good. It's greed.
It is.
I mean,
I don't want to make that political, but I agree with you.
I mean, let's put it this way. I've seen that everybody wants to make EVs. They want to have, everybody goes to EVs now. That's the new thing. They're going to make everybody buy an EV. So right now, you can buy that in China makes an EV that would be perfectly good to use on our roads. And it costs $25,000 maximum to get one of those. Because EVs, like in the United States last year, EVs, the average cost was $55,000, right? So you had to have some money to buy an EV. But you can buy them for $25,000 in China, perfectly good. They could run on the roads. What do you think the tariff on it is? Take a guess.
I have no clue.
100%.
102%.
Yikes.
And that was under Biden. So you tell me right there, is it to fix the atmosphere to get an EV, or is it to make money?
Yeah. Well, it's also to protect the American auto worker,
right?
The stockholders of Ford Motor Co., GMC, et cetera. There's a lot of protectionism there. Yeah. But the mindset needs to be that we need to transition our combustion powered vehicles over to EVs. And certainly we have the intelligence and the technology to make that transition, as we did with getting rid of all the sulfur and the emissions from the coal power plants, as we did with mercury, as we did with DDT. There just needs to be enough people on board that, want to keep the world the place that we grew up loving, as opposed to what is kind of sounds like a freak environment with, warmer, hotter summers, wetter winters, bugs everywhere, invasive
ticks
species
everywhere. Ticks.
Yeah, it's like, in a few years, who's going to want to go hiking? I'm going to want to sit home and play video games against Stosh. We're going to have a video podcast. We'll
see who can be the fastest known time on the Devil's Path on PlayStation.
It'll be me, but that's,
I mean, and Tad, I drive an EV, but I don't think it's like 100% there. Once again, what are we going to do with the batteries when, of course, they die down? We're going to recycle them for renewable energy, but some sort of way we're screwed over with that. The same things with the engines in cars. That's all metal. Like, what the hell are we going to do? We're I wouldn't say we're screwed either way, but it's sort of in the right direction. We have the hydrogen complex as well. That's over in California, but I'm pretty sure, I've done the research on that. It only lasts so many miles. It takes like so long to fuel up. The technology is not there, and that's it. It's just, we need solid backbones to all this stuff for people to be on board. And I don't mind. You know what? I've traveled 80,000 miles in my EV, my car, and I don't mind fueling up for 30 minutes. Like, what the hell? I go in, I go to the bathroom, I get something to eat, I come back out, it's done. I can say that I go to the bathroom for 30 minutes, but, I have a good time. I take my time.
All right, Stosh. All right, come on now.
We already talked, Ted.
I know we have an explicit rating, but there's limits to even explicit ratings, buddy, okay? I'm going to have to find another podcast. Dr. Gates, you and I were hooking up doing a podcast. I'm getting away from this guy, Stosh.
Right.
His 30-minute bathroom.
I didn't know it was that kind of podcast.
He's the only guy that bought an EV so he could take a 30-minute bathroom break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Ted, you found the secret.
Oh,
that
God.
is
Jesus.
the secret.
All right. Well, that's tonight's show, folks. I have to sign off here. My God. Oh, so.
But that even then, using the algal biofuels, they can still use internal combustion engine cars and actually remove CO2 from the atmosphere if we started using that instead of. So EVs aren't the only. The thing is that, and you go on through this book, is that there are many ways to do this. And we're deciding that we're only going to do these couple of things that'll never fix the problem. Whereas there's a bunch of other things. Geothermal energy is phenomenal, and we don't put any money into it. And yet, it would solve half of our problems if we just went to geothermal. And there's other things as well that you could use. You got to do what you have in the spot that you have it. That's what I think.
So maybe this is the point where I ask you. Are you aware of what Minnesota did in 2023?
No.
No, they put a law in the books that the state has transitioned to 100% clean energy by the year 2040. So all the electricity used by the folks in Minnesota has to come from carbon-free sources in the next 15 years. And so my question to you is, if the other 49 states passed a similar law with a similar deadline, 2040, what impact do you think that would have on the trend, the global warming or the climate change trend that we're so concerned about?
I think it would help a lot. And I think that if the United States does it, a lot of other countries will follow suit. I mean, people tend to go the way of the United States. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest problem right now, is that we're not taking this seriously. If you look, even though you have an EV, I have a hybrid, I have solar panels on my roof, all these other stuff. You think everything does it. You know how much electricity we're saving, how much energy we're now saving in the United States because of everybody doing that? 4.5% of it. So 95.5% of our energy still doesn't come from renewables, sources. So we're not taking this seriously. This is just almost like a boutique thing where some people do this to be cool or whatever. It's not being done seriously. And if we did it seriously, and other countries started to follow suit, and we stopped making things that help them do the stuff that damages the environment, we could fix this in 40 years. I say 40 years. We could have it right back down to what it was in 1980, and we'd be fine.
Yeah, and with what that you say, like the dryness and stuff like that, the floods would have a less impact, of course, on the Catskills, because everything's dry, everything wipes away quickly. We've seen that in the past, and with the dryness, of course, in the reservoirs, New York City would be okay, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's little changes here and there, and that, kind of like steps in the way of influence of other people. Like, I to be honest, Dr. Gates, I didn't buy an EV because I wanted to save the world. I bought an EV because it was fast as freaking heck. It was a cool looking car. But, I kind of step into that side of, EV is grateful. So maybe next I should get some solar panels to maybe benefit from that and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, maybe, influence other people to bid better things, to better the world for the later on of our generation, to make the world a better place. Why not?
Yeah.
Tad and I are here on doing this podcast to make people love the Catskills more, to make people influence come to Catskills, Hudson Valley a little bit more. And we're not here to tell you to stay the hell away from the Catskills or the Hudson Valley. We're here to make this. Yeah, we're here to make this a better place. To show this a better area and stuff like that. So, with your book coming out, it's already outside. We can get this. Where can we get it on anywhere?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. Depends if it's unfortunately they only make a hard copy, but you can get an ebook for $18 on Amazon, or you can buy the hard copy of the book either on Amazon or directly from the publisher, which is Roman and Littlefield.
Okay.
And get your library to buy it. So it's out.
So how can we get you to sign that though?
I'm happy to sign it. You got a some kind of setup. I come up and I'll sign it.
All right. So we'll have to think of something.
Yeah, we'll send. We have this big bus we bought from the city of New York. You'll see it coming. It's got like spewing the smoke out the back. We'll send our bus down to Rockland County to pick you up, bring you up to the Catskills, and it runs only on U.S. grade
Duracell.
1. No, it's just pure diesel fuel. It's a relic. I think it's a mixture of diesel and mercury that it runs on.
If you put me up at that nice hotel up there near New Paltz and up in the Shawangunk.
Yeah, the Mohonk Mountain.
God, nobody can
put me
afford
up there.
that.
I'll come up there and I'll sign books. And you put me up there for a couple days.
All right.
I don't even think New York State can afford that.
Yeah, I know. It's an expensive place.
Geological survey, they're like, yeah, you can't go here. You have to go camp out on the side over there.
That's right.
So do you have, any other kind of influences that you would like to share that kind of prompted you towards to make this book, that gave you the influence of writing this book?
As I said, I've always, I'm kind of an environmentally directed person as well, and I don't want to see. I have kids too that I don't want to have them, or assuming they ever have grandkids, wind up. And we're, at the rate we're going, in about another 20 years, things are going to get really ugly. So I don't want to see that happen. I've been out in the woods most of my life, and I would rather keep having the woods there. So I kind of was driven to write this based on that, just hoping that people would do it. And also, people I run the climate action program we have at Rutgers to try to get the whole university more, climate friendly. And I saw all these people that were just saying, oh my God, we're doomed. And so mostly I wrote this to be kind of positive, and that we've had really bad things. We had a lot of people against us to get lead out of the. That was a big fight to get lead out, and the companies didn't want to change. And DDT, they didn't want to change, and acid rain, they didn't want to change, and yet people got together and bound together and as a group and demanded change, and it happened. And so people, I think these days, think that they don't have any power whatsoever, and they can't make changes, but they can. And so I wanted to write this book, and including the nasty things that were buried, like Love Canal, and to say, look, these at Love Canal, when the government didn't handle it, do you know what happened?
In Love Canal?
Yeah. Do you know what really turned the corner?
There was a lawsuit. I seem to remember.
The lawsuit was nothing. The feds sent some people up, and the residents took them hostage at gunpoint.
Oh.
And either you come up here and fix this, or we're going to send them back in pieces. So
that was subtle.
Sometimes.
So, Doctor, are you advocating violence?
No, I'm not advocating violence.
Are you suggesting the solution to global climate change is a handgun?
They think. People nobody shot anybody.
Especially if they have a Glock in their hand.
Right.
It was just a threat. But they did, in other places too, there's been many situations. We were in bad shape back in the 60s when it comes to the environment in 6 different directions. And because people took an interest and wrote to their elected officials and protested and did what it took, they fixed it. And it was fixed. And we fixed all of these things. And that's what the book is about. To look at all these things that were really bad. The level of lead in children's blood was 2% below outright poisoning, and it dropped by 97% from 1980 to now. It's basically, it's well below the threshold right now. And it was because people got mad and said, we're not going to put up with this anymore. So I'm not saying people should go out and get guns, and I'm not preaching revolution or any of that stuff, but people can open their mouths and say, we want this, and write to their officials and attend protests, and people will, and the elected officials will have to listen. They did it before, they'll do it again.
And who knows? Explain, what you think to your fellow person that you're, maybe hiking with, walking with, working with, and you might influence them on a different perspective. Right. So you never freaking know. And what, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just, dude, it's one of those times of when it's just a big, what the fuck kind of thing. Like, we can only try. We can only make this place a better place, and hope that could be a better place. And Alex, Dr. Gates, you try to do that with your book, and I thank you. So that's good. I'm glad we had you on tonight. So that's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Even though we went all over the freaking place, it was like bouncing like a ping pong table.
Even though I have less hope that we'll win the battle with global warming than I did at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
it was fun. At least we're going to have fun dancing on the deck of the Titanic as it goes down.
Right. So last question, Dr. Gates. Post-hike, brews and bites. When you're out in the Catskills, Hudson Valley, what's your place to go to get something to eat, to influence people to eat some good stuff?
Well, see, I mean, I'm mostly down in Rockland, in Orange County is mostly where I go. So there's a nice tavern on Route 17 in Sloatsburg that I'll stop at that has a lot of different types of things to eat and drink.
What's that called?
Rhodes Tavern. But see, as I said, that's not the Catskills, so I don't know if that's going to help.
No. Much. A lot of our listeners come from the tri-state area down in the New York City area. So,
yeah, and Sloatsburg is right on the fringe of the Harriman State Park area.
Right.
So, folks that are over hiking, exploring Harriman for the day can swing by the Rhodes Tavern in Sloatsburg before they head home in their EV.
Yeah, it's on 17.
Yeah. To be honest, that's where we stopped when we picked up Dahlia, my dog from Jamaica. So it's a great place. All right. So thank you to the monthly supporters and the monthly sponsors for the show. Really appreciate you guys donating to the show and to the Catskills. Thank you to everyone who is still listening. Appreciate it. 159 episodes in, and we have Dr. Gates talking to us about climate change and about how we can influence others and people to steer in the right way. So I thank you very much. Buy his book, Reclaiming Our Planet. I'll have that in the links. And, Dr. Gates, thank you for joining us tonight. Take your time. And I hope you had a good time on our weird podcast.
I did. It was lots of fun.
Excellent.
So have a good night, and hopefully we'll get together in the future.
That sounds great. Hiking.
Right. Yes. Do you want to go? Do you want to hike or no?
Absolutely. I love hiking. So I told you, that's why I became a geologist, so I could go hiking and get paid for it.
So we'll get you, Carl, and Chuck Van Stratton on a freaking hike. Wow, this is going to be the most epic hike ever.
I get to sell tickets.
I want to see
Danny Davis.
Yeah, I want to see that trunk he found. I've never seen that big. He found that huge tree, the base of a tree up in the Catskill. The monstrous thing. It's
Gilboa.
So I want to see that. He hasn't shown me that yet.
Wow, that's a real. I wouldn't say dick move, but that's a dick move. Come on, Chuck. So have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, great.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.